Hello, guys. Welcome. Am I muted? I'm not. Yeah, welcome to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. It's going to be a fun and exciting event. We are right down to the knockouts already. The qualification phase was yesterday. Now, before we go full blow into it, let's have a quick look at the format. And I do hope I'm audible properly. The voice is clear, the video is clear, and things are okay for the moment. It will become seamless as we progress into the stream. But yeah, uh, for starters, let's have a quick look at the format before we dive into the games. The first game between Hikaru and Jose Martinez Alcantara is going on. But a quick look at the format. The Sunday Knockout Rapid Chess Championship, 8-player, single elimination, which means they play only one game. They don't play two games like a typical knockout game. The time control is 10 plus 2. The highest seed, the person who finished higher in the qualification, plays with the white pieces. If drawn, we go into 3 plus 2. If still drawn, a single 1 plus 1. And finally, an Armageddon. This is the format. We will get back to this from time to time. But yeah, this is the starting format. And these are the players, the star players, including our beloved VIDIT Gujrathi. And we also have a number of very strong players from across the world. And of course, with chess.com rapid. Wait, chess.com rapid rating of 2741, a FIDE rapid rating of 2617, and a world ranking of 21. So with it, we'll have the the white pieces. He will play against Jeffrey Chong from USA, a rematch of their match in Sochi, a kind of rematch. So that's the format. We will get back to this from time to time. Meanwhile, quickly back into the game which is going on right now. Hikaru against Jospem or Jose. And let's see what's going on right now. Hikaru has the white pieces and Hikaru is an exchange down, guys. You can see the evaluation bar, not quite in favor of Hikaru. He has a massive time advantage, almost a 3-minute advantage, but he's down with the position, which is quite surprising. When I started with the screen, I was almost ready to go. Hikaru is better for this reason, this reason, this reason, but it turns out that he's not. What's your guess, Blue Moon? What's your guess? Do you find it? Do you find it recorded or just take a guess? No. Yes, there is a 2-second increment, and Jose is quite fast himself. He's incredibly fast. So you can always kind of count on him to get back to things. He's not someone you can just bully or flag. And we also have the face cameras for the moment. There we go. I don't know why Hikaru's kind of frozen here because his eyes moved there, so he's not quite frozen. There he's Hikaru and Yospam with rook d5, Hikaru attacking the f5 pawn. He actually captures the f5 pawn, rook into f5. Yes, they are playing only one match at a time so that it's easy for broadcasters and the spectators. So here we have it. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I do hope that you know whom I am. But for those who are new, I'm Grandmaster Srinath. I'm the coach of the Indian team and a few young prodigies, Arjun, Nihal, to name a few. And below me is Jose Alcantara Martinez and Hikaru, again, who requires no introduction. Jose Alcantara Martinez is a very, very strong speed chess player. He's a regular in finishing at the top in both Title Tuesdays as well as the Arena Kings. His FIDE rating is a modest 2598. I say modest because although it's so close to 2600 and such a super strong rating, it wait, what happened to why is yeah although 2598 is a pretty strong rating in general, it also is probably a bit underrated considering how incredibly strong he is in the speed chess formats. He's ridiculously strong in the faster formats, the blitz, the rapid, and here he has a better position against Hikaru. Although Hikaru's position is quite solid, he has these four very solid pawns on the king side. Now, as long as these two pawns get traded to these two pawns, White has no risk at all of losing. So this is the reason why his position is quite solid, and Hikaru scam frozen once again. We'll quickly fix that. But yeah, this is the position right now. Rook f5 check, king e7, rook to f3. Hikaru keeping the b3 pawn under control. He's not going to lose the b3 pawn. And the b3 pawn protects the a4 pawn. So both these pawns protected for the moment. So I think Hikaru is not going to lose this game with the white pieces. And if this ends in a draw, then it moves into the 3+2 position. And if that also ends in a draw, then it moves into the 1+1 portion. This is the format. VIDIT played in the knockouts the previous week against Hikaru. And sorry, he played against Alexander Grishchuk. He drew the first 3 games. It was quite exciting. But in the end, the first 3 games ended in a draw. Vidit had his chances in the first game. He had his chances in the, I think, more than one game. But he was not able to finish off. And Grishchuk also had his chances in a bullet game, but was not able to finish off in the 10 seconds each portion. So the boat stuck. I don't think so. Boat seems to be moving along nicely. Yeah. Now the board is moving, but I don't know if Hikaru's camera is stuck or yeah, Hikaru's camera is not stuck actually. Actually, it's just Hikaru being expressionless, or I don't know. I don't know what's the exact thing. Now he's frozen. Obviously, he's not playing statue. But yeah, now he's frozen. And but yeah, I guess it's all right as long as we have the position intact. Chat, what do you think? Is Hikaru going to win? There's a poll on the channel out there. Is Hikaru going to win this, or is it going to be a draw? Or do you think Yospem is going to close this out? What's your prediction? Also, do you think I should pronounce him as Yospem or Jospem? I think we can be kind of free with the pronunciations considering it's a common noun, and Yospem is not his actual name. So yeah, feel free to write your comments. I don't think he's playing Statue and Shika. I really don't think so. But yeah, as predicted, I think the first game is kind of going towards a draw. It's all the pawns have been exchanged, the rooks are off, and we kind of have only 4 pawns for white, 2 pawns for black. Too few pawns to, but he has only 5 seconds remaining, and this hedge pawn is pretty serious. Hedge pawn is very serious very seriously advanced and about to queen. H6 check, and he takes the pawn. He takes the f7 pawn. So Hikaru is going to close this one out, guys. He's done it. He's shown that he's master of the shorter formats. He's going to close this one. He's going to win the first game. Now I think it's unstoppable. The pawn goes to e7. and the pawn goes to e8. The knight can come to d6 when necessary. So let's go e7, rook e8, and yeah, he starts with knight d6. Pretty much the same thing. And black has resigned. So that's the first game for you guys. That is the first game. And no, it wasn't winning for a while. It was pretty holderful for black until this point. He had to go with king to g8, but Hikaru created his chance beautifully. It started out, the endgame started out at around this point, takes king f5, h6 e5, and f4. And here g5, h into g5, and king into g5 was a very important move, I think. If you took with f pawn, then maybe the winning chances were a bit lesser. Because the rook can swing onto the h file, and these two pawns are not connected. When the king goes to f6, it can be checked from the f file. White can still play knight to f5, but I think it would have reduced his winning chances significantly. But he took with the uh, king, which was a very important decision, and that changed everything in White's favor. And this was a critical point when he went f5 and h6 check. King h7 was the important point, and now after knight to f7, white was just a piece up and comfortably won the game. So this changed the game around for Hikaru. It was not such a smooth sailing though. Pretty curious how it went in the opening. Very nice question for black, and white solid too. We will soon have match 2, by the way. The match 2 is between David Navarra, former prodigy, up against. Wait, who's he up against? Not quite sure who's up against, but the Vidit's game will be the third one of the series against Jeffrey Chong. So the next match is of David Navarra, and again, not quite sure whose opponent is. Anyone in the chat can enlighten. But yeah, the VD's match is, of course, the one we are most looking forward to. Chat, what do you think is VD's chances today? Now, I am going to have a stream on my channel at sometime after VD's game ends. What time do you think I should schedule my stream for? VD's game starts at 10:30. What are my thoughts about Prague? Prague is phenomenal. Actually, you do have a point. The second match could be with it versus Jeffrey, but I don't know. I don't know why I see David Navarro out here. Not quite
Excuse me,
sure.
can you see my texts?
Just
Excuse me, Mr. Payne, can you see my texts? Yes.
yeah, that was David's voice. Cool. So Vidit won 3 games yesterday and drew 6. He defeated Jules from France. He defeated Danny Dugo from the FIDE flag, and also Andrei Sipenko from the FIDE flag to get to 6 out of 9. 6 out of 9 is a pretty comfortable score to qualify, and a few people from 5.5 also qualify. So that was with its route to the knockouts. All right. So as we wait for the next game and as we set things up for our broadcast, do let me know your comments on who do you think is the favorite to who do you think is the favorite in the Vidit Chong game, and how far do you think Vidit is going to qualify? These are the questions that's on These are questions on my mind today as I try to figure out when I want to schedule my own stream on my channel. And it reminds me of the meeting we had in the airport just as I was, going to Sochi. And I was kind of not expecting people to go past round four, which sounds really wrong, by the way. But in the history of World Cups, only Vichy had gone further past that. So I was that was also my expectation, and wasn't quite wasn't quite expecting people to go past round four, but uh, Vidit did it. He actually went all the way till the semi-finals, I guess, quarterfinals. He went till the quarterfinals, and round four was the game between Vidit against Jeffrey Chong. That was the game. So it is going to be interesting to see how far Vidit goes this time, and what the expectation is. It's been a very interesting thing with it in general, and with a lot of players, you expect them, you kind of write them off, and they surprise you, like playing the tournament of their life. And sometimes you have such high expectations from them, and they just end up disappointing you completely. So I'm curious which one it's going to be today. What do you think, chat? Cool. Now we have my name to the chat. Sorry, in the stream. I don't quite like this font though. I guess I'll try it with something slightly different. No, the previous font was better. Just playing around with the different options. Yeah. I should confess my favorite is Vidit because he's been in excellent form in recent times. Uh, he's qualified to the knockouts of the Rapid Chess Championship twice in a row, not just once, but twice in a row. And the previous yesterday he was undefeated despite playing the best of the opposition. I think most of his opposition was about 2700, including Hikaru, and he managed to survive undefeated. He played incredibly well all through, and that was an amazing performance. So I think Vidit is a slight favorite, but what do you guys think? Who do you think has a good chance to win the candidates? I think the top two is Hikaru. Sorry, not Hikaru. I think Ding is a big favorite because he's incredibly strong and also experienced. So I wouldn't count Ding out. Very curious to see how well Alireza does. And I can't help but root for Hikaru because he's from the streaming community. He's someone, who's gone away. He's gone away from the mainstream chess, and he's shown that you can do other things, and you can also play good chess. He broke the ceiling. He kind of broke the popular conceptions. He was an outlier, and he's done such a fabulous job doing that. He kind of pioneered. He broke away and proved that it's possible. So I can't help but root for Hikaru, and I'm also incredibly curious to see how well he does in this tournament in the candidates. Oh, the game has started, by the way. The Esipenko Navara game, the second game has started. So let's get into it a- instantly. It has started with the Grunfeld defense. Esipenko having the white pieces. I'm not quite sure why Vidit's game hasn't started because it was scheduled to be the game too. But I guess I'm not sure. Maybe they were just not ready with they were just not ready with uh, the Hikaru game probably ended quickly, and I imagine maybe Vidit's game was just scheduled at 10:30. So that's my best guess also. We'll quickly have the camps for the Esipenko Navara game as well. What is your prediction for this game, chat? Let's go. Yeah, it was scheduled at 10:30 as far as I know. So these games are like warm up, like the kind of trailers that come before the main event. Since VD is such a superstar, so awesome and amazing and everything. That's my best guess. Yeah, let's have a poll. Esipenko against Navara, and Esipenko has also been one of these promising juniors who's been around for some time now at the elite level. I think he played in the 2020 dynasty and kind of showed that he belonged. But I think one of the breakthrough matches that he had was the match against Magnus Carlsen in Sochi. The match against Magnus Carlsen, he kind of fought toe to toe. He showed that he can do it. He can be the best player in the world. He did beat Magnus once earlier in the Tata Steel Championship, but in that match he really lasted for almost 6 games. So that is one of his best performances. VD's game 10:30. Well, under 20 is basically junior. So if you're 22, you kind of not a junior anymore. Now I wish I could argue that I'm a junior as well, but the age limit is 20 in general. I think Esipenko comes under that. If we go to the world's top juniors, it's Alireza Arjun and Esipenko. He's number 3 in the world. But yeah, dude is really, really strong too. The World Cup winner, and also the guy who knocked out with it the World Cup. Quite sadly, so for a lot of us. But true, Akshay, true. I couldn't agree more about that. Guys, just give me a second to figure out some things before we get the player camps up and ready. And meanwhile, feel free to write your predictions or questions or thoughts or whatever you like, just as we get the face cam in place. Cool. In your opinion, who's the best rapid chess player in India? I think Vishy Anand. Are you asking without counting Vishy? Because if Vishy is there, I think he's still the best rapid player in the world. Yeah, I know, right, Abhijit? It's a bit unfortunate, but I guess it's okay. All right, chat. What's going on in the game right now? Who do you think is better in this position, and why do you think so? Let's look at the small. Let's. So when we start looking at any position, it makes sense to look at how the pawn structure is because the pawn structure is a skeleton of the game. And out here we have these white pawns on h2, g3, f2, but this pawn on d5 is a bit of an outlier. So that's one fundamental difference. Otherwise, the pawns are all symmetrical, everything on the same file, h, g, f, a, and b. And black also has these pawns on h, g, f, and a and b, and it's all symmetrical. But this d5 pawn is an outlier, and black has the e7 pawn. Now, in general, this d5 pawn is stronger than e7 pawn in these types of positions, especially if white has access to the open e file and can exert pressure on the e7 point. White's d5 pawn is a lot easier to defend and it gives white a lot of space. So these are the reasons why it's a good idea for white to have this pawn on d5, and d5 pawn is stronger than black's e7 pawn. So that's, I think, one small imbalance in favor of white. The second imbalance in terms of pieces, it's not in terms of pawns, is the pair of bishops. White has these two bishops, whereas black has a bishop and knight. And white has this bishop on the light squares. So here's a bishop on the light square, here's this pawn on the light square. So overall, white has more control of the light squares. And this is another thing which is in favor of the white pieces. Black's strength, on the other hand, it lies with two factors. One is he has his pieces really well placed, quite active. This knight on e4 doing quite well, observing this pawn on f2 and combining to exert pressure along with the queen on c5. And with queen c5, black also creates potential threats along the c file. So these two things in favor of black, and it kind of helps him try and maintain and hold the balance. With knight e5, white aims to go with the knight to c6. That's one of the options. And apart from that, it just clears space for white's pieces around. But black goes a4. The point being, it distracts the queen. If queen takes a4, then black takes knight into d5. And then this variation goes with knight d7, attacking both the queen and the rook at once. And here's the question. How can black defend against this? What does black do? Knight d7, attacking the queen, attacking the rook. This knight will also be in trouble if the queen moves away. So this is a critical point in this game. And chat, what should black move right here? This is the reason why Navara took so much time over his previous move. This is the critical point. Knight d7, a devastating threat. Queen into a4, knight d7. And Esipenko must have also countered on this when he played the knight to e5. So knight d7, and it looks like black is completely lost here. If not for this one particular very strong move, which he has, which he probably saw and changes it in his favor, and is also making Esipenko think about what to do in this position after a4. Rook 8 is a good attempt, Pushkar, to try and counterattack, but might just capture the queen with knight into c5, and you basically have nothing. So this is the point. Um, Knight into c5 wouldn't be such a great option. And queen to c7, there is this bishop covering it minus. So queen to c7 also not a great option. And these are the problems in black's position. Knight d7, this is the difficult situation. And the point here is black can take this bishop on f4. Knight into f4. This is exactly what happened in the game right now. Esipenko played knight d7 and black goes knight into f4. Now if you capture the queen, black captures the e2 bishop with a check. And wait, did you hear something there? I don't think so. All right. So the point being that knight into e2 with a check, king g2, and knight into c5, and black has 3 minor pieces for white's queen. So this is a very interesting position of material imbalance. White will continue here with queen into b4, and at the end of it, white has these two powerful pass pawns, but black has 3 minor pieces, and these 3 minor pieces are incredibly powerful. They control a lot of squares combined together. So this was Navara's point, and this is the position we have on the board right now in the game. SC just took queen into b4, and now I expect something like e5 and knight d4. First extricate this knight, put them on a good square, see that none of black's pieces are hanging, and in general, with these imbalances, 3 minor pieces against a queen, it's advantageous for 3 minor pieces because they retain a lot of flexibility, and they cover a lot of squares combined together. So they have the flexibility and they have the control. The queen, it's a queen. It can it already combines the movements of rook and a bishop. But on the other hand, even with that, its mobility is comparatively limited compared to a minor piece. So these are the kind of questions where Stockfish will give a really nice question for really nice value for the queen. But in reality, in practical terms, it's actually the 3 minor pieces which are better. So this is how these positions work in general. three minor pieces against queen. Go for the one with the three minor pieces. This is, I think, a good general thing to know and have in your mind. Yeah, queen c4. I don't think Stephen Hawking is as far as I know. The VD's game is yet to happen, Satyam. Now, if you can't find something in the past or the present, it's probably going to happen in the future. That's also a generally true thing, which applies in a lot of situations, just like the three minor pieces thing. Oh, the game has moved forward, by the way. Knight d4, rook c1, bishop h6, and the bishop is under attack. Rook c3, there's knight e4 potentially. No, you don't want to allow white to take queen into c8. So rook c3, bishop d2. It's also interesting to go b4. I think Sipenko is thinking about b4, guys. b4, bishop into c1, rook into c1, and you want to try and get into this endgame. Queen into c8, rook into c8, check, and I don't think Anshika can do it out here, but she can do it on the Discord. But yeah, rook into c8, uh, queen into c8. Sorry, queen into c8 and rook into c8. This position is nasty for Navara. So Esipenko is potentially thinking about b4, a very strong and nice move. And exactly, Satyam. These kind of things we forget in life all the time. We keep forgetting that something can happen in the future. We keep forgetting these things, but they do happen. So yeah, if it hasn't happened in your past, if it isn't right there in your present, it probably will happen in your future. That's the takeaway of the day of the stream today. So now, guys, when I say with it is, let's say, 2750, what would you reply to me? Let's just say I just go out and put it out there. With it 2750. Oh yeah, the thing with b4, bishop is c1, rook is c1. Uh, he has played this, by the way. He has played b4. So if black takes this, maybe you don't want to go into this knight c6 and queen into c8. Maybe you just want to play some kind of this kind of a position. That's one option. And two passed pawns, especially a rook pawn. Again, these kind of questions, computer takes a while to understand, but it's very bad for black to go into any of these positions with a rook against two knights with these two outside passed pawns. So b4, bishop into c1, rook into c1, and now queen into c8 is incoming. I'd be a bit skeptical about that, Satyam. But if you believe in rebirths, then that's even more comprehensive application of this whole thing. But I'd be a bit skeptical about the GM part. It's but yeah, let me not be too rude about those. Let me not be too rude with my honesty. Yes, GM can have different meanings in different fields. That is totally true. Meanwhile, some progress in the game. Knight a4, takes, rook into c8, king g7. Now, there's an option out here in chess. You can get to the. There's one button you click and you get back to the live position. Now, which one is that? Katie told me something the last time we streamed using. What is the option when you go back to the live board, guys, in chess.com/events? Just completely forgot. because the live game isn't updating. But guys, yeah, this is completely winning for white. These two pawns, they are impossible to for the knights to hold together. So knight to d5. The threat was knight c6, so white plays b5 and takes this away. Uh, David down to less than 10 seconds. He's facing the heat now. Knight to c3, white can go b6, b7, knight c6, and now rook c8. And it will be GG. So I guess just b7 now. How would you start with rook c8, then maybe knight b4 and knight c6? So black has that time. Whereas you start with b7, knight c6, rook c8, knight to b4, and now white can start bringing his king. So that's what has happened in the game. He went b7 and knight to c6, rook to c8. I expect knight to b4. Or maybe you can also just play rook e8 and take this pawn. But rook 8, maybe black goes king f6 first. It's a tricky decision for Esipenko. Rook 8 on the board, knight b4, king f3. Let me try and flip this button. No, not a good idea. f5 on the board. Guys, what is it where you get the live game back, the live stream, when you analyze? And maybe I should just keep it here, yeah? Maybe I should keep it here. And, is the board clear and visible now? Is it big enough? Yeah, now black is just lost. King c4 and maybe even just king c5 and it's GG, guys. So Esipenko is through to the semi-final where I expect he will play against Hikaru. And meanwhile, that brings us closer to our main event of the day between Vidit against Jeffrey Chong. There's a poll out there on. There will be a poll out there. Who do you think is going to go through, guys? Is it going to be Vidit? Is it going to be Jeffrey Chong? Do let us know. We'll quickly go back and go through the format. Rook into c6 check. David has resigned, so Esipenko moves through to the semi-final. He's probably talking to Esipenko. I don't quite hear what he's saying, but yeah, he's probably talking to Esipenko, discussing the game. Meanwhile, a quick look at the format. VIDIT Gujarati rated 2741 on the chess.com. Only 2617 in FIDE, though I don't expect it to be long term. And honestly, the FIDE rapid ratings are a bit broken. It's a 8-player single elimination format, which means you only play one game. You only play one game, and the highest seed has white. The seeding is based on your rankings in the previous day qualifier. If drawn, a single 3+2 game will be played, and if that's also drawn, a single 1+1 game will be played to decide the winner. And if that's also drawn, then an Armageddon will be played, and that's what happened in with its match against Grishuk in the previous game. It's time for VD. Yes, it is time for VD. We will have him on our screen in a really, really short time, guys. But yeah, in the meanwhile, do let us know what we think with its chances are in this match. KGF2, as for a moment, surprised if you are talking about a move there. some kind of a special super move, KGF 2. We're not talking about that, yeah? No, I haven't watched KGF 2 yet. What esports cup are you talking about? Oh, you mean well, not quite following it today. Chat and do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, as we tune into our boy VIDIT Gujarati. Just give me a couple of minutes as I bring him on the screen. The game is scheduled to start at 10:30. So we'll get there in about 3 minutes. Again, a single elimination game with it starts with the white pieces. In a 10+2 game, if it ends in a draw, it goes into 3+2. If that also ends in a draw, then we go to the 1+1. And here we go. We have the players out there. There's with his trademark backdrop, and Jeffrey Chong, who just walked away from the screen. With this camera, probably not the best possible angle there, but regarding the Olympiad team, we'll have a full picture on May 1, guys. That's the deadline. That's the D-Day, the D-Date, the day where we'll have final confirmation of everything. Well, it is 10:30, so I'm not surprised that Vidit looks sleepy. But I think it's still earlier than many of the other matches that he's played through in online chess post lockdown. There we have it. Vidit Gujarati against Jeffrey Jong. Are you excited, guys? Are you? Isn't this why you're here? The main event of today, Vidit against Jeffrey, and also the most curious thing: how long is Vidit going to last today? Yeah, 10:30 is not the time to sleep, but it depends on how old we are. For the younger people like us, yes, 10:30 is not the time to sleep, but I guess that's not. Oh, the game has begun, by the way. I'm really sorry, guys. The game has begun. We missed the first four moves. It started off with Grunfeld defense, and with it starting with d4, predictably so. Knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5. He went knight to f3. One of the most solid lines in the Grunfeld. Bishop g7 and queen to b3, d into c4, queen into c4. All theory so far, black castles, and then white either usually goes e4 or bishop f4. In chess, there are two types of openings. One where you kind of challenge the center directly with the pawns, like the Queen's Gambit decline, the Slav defense. You occupy with the pawns. That's your way of controlling the center. And the other option is to let your opponent develop a formidable center and then go out and try to attack it. So knight f6, g6, and Grunfeld is like the flag bearer of these openings. It allows white to build up this center, and then it attacks with all the pieces. So queen b3 takes pawn to c6, e4 on the board, and this is the live position that we have at the moment. Yes, like us, I why not? Yeah, Jeffrey's face is actually quite a bit zoomed out into the camera. Now, I've found that in online chess, it's always an indication of how much the players are focused, their how much they are leaning into the board is a bit of an indication towards that. And we see quite a lot of different expressions from the players. With it, Vidit is usually quite expressive. Uh, Black has played short castle, by the way, so we are still pretty much in the early stage of the opening, and this is one of the biggest strengths of Vidit. His repertoire with the white pieces, it's not quite that easy to equalize, and he exerts pressure on his opponent. E5 on the board, and black goes 95. E5 is a curious move, by the way. It falls exactly into what black wants with the Grunfeld defense. Um, White has the center from where he controls all these different squares. So when you go e5, you give up the control of the d5 square, and you also weaken this d4 pawn. And this kind of plays exactly into black's hands, exactly what he wants. So I'm not entirely sure if e5 was such a great move here, but I also kind of expect this is what Vidit potentially wanted. Maybe he was already into his prep by this time. Maybe, maybe he's still in his prep. So e5 on the board, knight to d5, bishop e2. Now I expect black to go something like bishop g4 to try and exert pressure on the d4 point. His other options, you want to try and develop the pieces out here. The pieces are undeveloped. But on the other hand, the knight doesn't have a great square because the c6 point is taken away by the c6 pawn. So going to d7, it loses control of the d5 point. Taking knight into c3 in general a bad idea. It allows white to uh, increase control of the center, and knight a6 also doesn't feel great. So you first develop the bishop, which you first do the thing that you can improve, and then you think about the knight. So that's what Jeffrey did, but he didn't go bishop to g4. Instead, he went with the bishop to e6, threatening discard attacks against the white wing. Yeah, bishop e6. This is the uh, live position that we have right now. Yeah. All right, guys. All right. I finally found why the game is not updated and why we were stuck. So getting back, bishop e6 on the board. Now the white queen has to move. Knight f4, knight e3, all these threats. Where does the white queen go? Queen e4 is an option. Queen d3 is an option. You go queen d3, I think you kind of run into bishop f5, knight b4 related stuff. So at the outset, I would go with either queen a4, or there's an alternate option, by the way. You can go knight g5. This is what Vidit is probably thinking about, to react or to counter attack. Because you go knight g5, black, let's say he tries knight e3, queen to, you can actually just take knight into e6 here. With the idea of knight into d8. F into e6, there's queen into e6 check. And after knight into c4, knight into d8, the c4 pawn is, c4 knight is attacked. So he does go knight g5, bishop f5, and short castle also on the board. And again, after bishop f5, he did have this option to just go g4, h4, h5, because when the center isn't open, it's not so easy for black's pieces to try and get access to the white's king. So bishop f5, short castle, knight b6. White cannot go queen d3. He has to go queen b3. And no, queen b3 also gets hit by queen into d4. So he probably has to go queen to c5 here or queen b4 here, I guess. But let's have a look at this. Queen b3, queen into d4. Is this really such a bad thing? Because white has e6, and it's a bit unclear because f6, there is some counterplay here for white, but this doesn't feel so natural with white to go into this queen b3 and e6. So I'm guessing something like queen b4 or queen c5 is more natural. So he goes with queen b4. And again, for black, it's not so easy to develop this knight. So he will probably try to go a5, a4, and then try and get the knight out to a6. If he does it directly, then after bishop into a6, b into a6, black has an undesirable pawn structure. So he would love to start with something like a5, a4. He can do this. He can afford to do this. He does have the tempo, and then try and get the knight to a6. So this has to be black's. Yeah, he's played a5, queen to b3, and now I guess a4 and knight a6. This will be the way to continue. Black cannot play queen into d4 here because of now the times have changed. So white doesn't have to react with e6. So why doesn't queen into d4 work here, chat? Are you guys still here? Are you guys still awake? Again, a quick update on the format. It's a single elimination format, so there's only one game. The first game, 10+2, Vidit has the white pieces because he finished higher in the qualifiers on the previous day. And if this game ends in a draw, we go to the 3+2 portion. If this game ends in a draw, we go to the 1+1. So for Hikaru and Esipenko have advanced to the semifinals, and Mana's correct answer but wrong coordinates. It is bishop e3. You're right, chat. Do stay alert in the chat, and you never know. We give away prizes based on how awesome your answers are to the questions, and it's always announced. The giveaways are always announced after the right answers on our stream. Bishop e3, the right move, hitting the queen and the b6 knight and winning the piece. Shout out to all those who got the right answers: Vedant, Ayush, Akshat, Shaksham, Pranav, and anyone else I have missed out on. A few moves in the game meanwhile. H6, knight f3, knight a6. He gets his knight out. So he didn't play the pawn to a4, but he has developed the knight. So black has completed his development, and he gets his knight to b4 as well, which is why he didn't advance it to a4, because he wanted this b4 square for the knight, from where it can go and access the d5 point. The d5 point, which was weakened as far back as move 8. He played e5 here. All this theory, by the way, bishop e6 was the first new move, but I felt that long term, this was a potential weakness, the d5 point, and quite comfortable for black to control and sit down there. And black is exactly doing that. Bishop e6 and pawn to f5. This is such a nice strategic move, taking control of the e4 square and cementing the d5 point even further. Kind of taking advantage that if white goes into f6, then after into f6, the d4 pawn will be isolated. So into f6 is not desirable for white. Queen d1, f5. I really like this move. It's a very, very instructive strategic motive and not something that was natural to me. But as a Grunfeld player, Chong was onto it in a flash. Queen d1, f5. And guys, again, write feel free to write your predictions for this game. Do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And what are your predictions? Now, knowing Vidit for such a long time, I don't think this is going to end in game one. He likes to play a long game. And, when you're the captain in the Olympiad, you have to wait till the last game is over. And when you're Vidit's wingman in chess, you are in for a long evening. You have to wait till the very last game. A few moves played meanwhile. A3, knight d5. The knight sits on d5. Bishop d2. Vidit has got rid of one of the knights, but his knight sits pretty on d5. So the center is quite closed here. The play is pretty much in the flanks. I guess black can just go g5, f4, he can start operations there. That will weaken this diagonal on the light square though when you move this pawn. But yeah, so he keeps things steady for the moment with queen d7. With white, I would be tempted to improve this knight and try to bring it to c5, but that would weaken the d4 point, especially after bishop d2 on the previous move. He stops g5 with h4. For the moment, keeps the knight on f3, so there's no g5, g4, which would have exerted pressure on the d4 point. Knight to c7, played by Chong. He probably wants to get the bishop to d5 and knight to e6 with that move. Queen c2, bishop d5 played. With it, probably will look to trade this bishop c4, bishop into d5. This g7 bishop is still a bad bishop. So he will try to, I guess, trade one of the nice bishops. Yes, that's one more point for me to guess the move. Knight to e6, or yeah, knight to e6, bishop into d5, queen into d5. I don't understand why you want the link to the live games, guys. I'm predicting the moves before they are made. So if you're watching the live games, you're going to be lagging behind. So bishop into d5, queen into d5, and now the question is how white defends the d4 pawn. You can do this with bishop e3, you can do this with bishop c3. Problem with bishop e3, the bishop is kind of misplaced, so he goes queen b3, not giving away. But things have not gone great for Vidit in this game, guys. Chong is quite comfortable here, and he has a bit more time as well. He's exerting the pressure. He's making things uncomfortable for Vidit. Queen b3, a4. I guess the only way to justify go queen a2 is done that, but rook d8 and there's intense, unpleasant pressure on the d4 pawn. So bishop e3 or bishop c3. It's not the semifinals, Rakshit. It's the quarterfinals. The semifinals is in the future, as we were talking earlier in the stream. So if it's not there in the past, or if it's not there in the present, it's probably out there in the future. In some cases, yes, it's never there, like some people's grandmaster title, but it applies to most things. All right, guys. Rook c. I don't like this question for Vidit. He's under pressure. Rook a d8. Rook a d8 would lose this a4 pawn. So you first want to defend this a4 pawn. How do you do that? You can't do that. This rook on c4, it does this awesome multi-purpose job. Like, how the streamers do. They take care of OBS, they do chess commentary. Similarly, the rook on c4 is, defending the d4 pawn. It is exerting pressure on the a4 point, not letting this rook move that easily. And black will need to look for a different target. It's like sometimes you like someone, but things are not going to work out. The d4 pawn is a bit like that. Right now, it doesn't look like things are going to work out. b5, the c6 pawn will hang. So you try to look for other options in the meanwhile. He actually goes c5. I'm pretty surprised. I'm pretty surprised that he chose to trade the d4 pawn. Strategically, I wouldn't do that. I would have tried to, try and find newer points to exert pressure on, but he goes for this. His point being that he gets the knight to d3, attacking the e5 pawn, attacking the b2 pawn. So bishop into e7, then probably he wants a b2 pawn because the e5 pawn is, oh, okay, he takes the e5 pawn. So he's like, I want an equal position where I'm the one exerting the pressure with no chances to lose at all. The b2 pawn under pressure. Black has the a4 pawn, which is really nice, really well placed. And it's on a light square. And we have these dark square bishops. So with c5, what he's done is he's also broken through this prison that the bishop was standing at. And with it down to less than 2 minutes, so we are kind of in the blitz portion. And rook c2, now rook e8, bishop to b4, I guess you get the pawn to g3, and you have everything defended. So black's problem, he's better, but he doesn't have enough of a, what do you call it, uh, enough of traction, or something to hold on to. Like, he's climbed up and he's gotten something, but he doesn't have enough of something to hold on to. And that is the reason why he's not able to make further progress. F4, king g2, and with it has, uh, he's completely eliminated in black's chances here. He has solidified his position to such an extent, and this is what the best players in the world are so good at doing. You feel like you have a pressure against them. You have to exert pressure to provoke mistakes from your opponents, so you create this pressure against them. And against the weaker players, it works so well. They just make mistakes under pressure. But the stronger players, especially the elite, they are so good at resisting this kind of a pressure, like how the top martial artists, they get so good at handling certain kind of pain that they develop such high tolerance resistance. The same way the elite players so good at handling those little pressures and defending, which is why there are a lot more draws at the highest level. The higher you go, the more draws, because they're so good at resisting, they're so resilient, they're not easy to beat at all. And this is what happened with Vidit. He was losing control. He was getting a bit worse. He realized this. He slammed the brakes, and now he's on his way to making this draw. But it also happens the other way around. Some many times Vidit gets a better position himself, but he's not able to land the finishing blow because his opponents are also players at the highest level, and they're also very good at resisting, being resilient. And this is a very important aspect. This is a very important aspect of improvement when one moves from one stage to another stage. For instance, 2700 to 2750, 2750 to 2800, and for some people 2860 to 2900. So this is the way, but it's not an easy way. It's like those journeys back in the time when engines weren't invented, and you had to do it with manual means in unpredictable climate. Okay, guys, don't worry. Vidit is not going to lose on time. Rook b3 on the board. Let's get back to the prediction game, yeah? And chat, let's also see how good you're at predicting things. So I have a feeling that Vidit is looking at rook d2 here. He wants to give up this pawn because, it's passivity. Oh, he takes rook into b3. Okay, so rook d2 now. Yeah, that's one prediction. Done, right? Rook c8 with the idea of rook c2. So now we come king f3. King f3, rook c2. And now what do we do? You have to go rook d3. You have to give up this pawn. Yeah, king f3, rook c2, rook d3, rook into b2. And now I guess you have to find some rook d8 check and rook d7 with the idea of rook into g7. So this is what Vidit needs to calculate. He has only 20 seconds though. And in these situations, if you're wrong, then you lose the game. Did you understand that, chat? Rook c2, rook d3, rook into b2. And now there's rook d8 check. Let's say king f7, just so that we are nice and cooperative. Rook d7 check, and you lose this bishop because there's a bishop c3 check attacking both the bishop and the king and the rook. So this is the drawing tactic here. So after rook c2, there is always rook d3. Now rook b3 was an awesome. Uh, oh, he goes rook d8 check. Wait, what? What? Oh, okay. Now it's just a draw. For some reason, I imagine rook d3, rook into b2 happened. Okay, rook d7. Let's make a draw, guys. But what happens after king g8 now? It's a draw, right? Yeah, it's a draw. And predict the moon number when the game will finish and win a chess.com diamond membership, guys. Here you go. This is an awesome chance. It's not difficult, guys. Just go for it. And it has happened. It has happened before a chat came in. So I think we are going to have different. Oh, wait. It is 47. It is 47. That did come. And NGT Mar with the right answer. Guys, the game is over. Rook d8 check and ended in a draw. Move 47. Prediction is over. Chance is gone. And NGT Mar with the first one to make the right prediction. So do write your chess.com ID in the chat and claim your diamond membership. Oh wait, we are doing that for the Blitz one. I'm really sorry. Do follow the chat for the authentic information on the diamond membership giveaway. Yes, guys, it is Blitz time. Do we have the kickoff yet? Yes, the Blitz has started. I'm really sorry once again. The game has started, and with it has the black pieces. It started off with a Tromposki, quickly going through the starting moves: e3, c5, takes, and c4, dc. It goes into this pawn structure. These positions are quite fine for black, but in Blitz, white can use this to create pressure because there is this pawn structure imbalance: pawns f6, f7, and e6. Bishop b5 check, knight d7, short castle, a6 on the board. It feels like this pawn structure weakens black's king side, but usually it's quite safe because you have this dark square bishop. White doesn't have a dark square bishop, and you have these. Oops, sorry. Yeah, you have the dark square bishop, and usually the bishop sits pretty on g7. White doesn't have a dark square bishop himself, so he cannot attack those points. He cannot attack those squares. So this is usually not something to worry about for black, and in general it's okay to take g into f6 when you have this dark square bishop in these types of structures. So this is like a general rule. With it having the black pieces this game, he had the white pieces, he made a draw in the first game. It's a single elimination format. 10+2 is over. It's 3+2 now. If this ends in a draw, we are going for the 1+1. So what do you think, guys? What do you think is with its chances? The problem of putting the bishop to g7, it weakens the d6 point. So knight e4, rook d1, knight d6, and it can get really unpleasant for black here. So Vidit has spent almost half his time in the Blitz portion and is trying to figure out how he wants to solve this problem. Maybe just go back bishop e7. Maybe, don't go for bishop g7 because that would be. He goes for bishop g7, but this doesn't feel great. Knight e4, rook d1 incoming. And then this knight sits on d6. Maybe with it is like, I'm going to put my king on the king side. So I'm not really worried about this knight coming and hitting the d6 square. Knight e4, rook e d1, short castle, and knight d6. But on the other hand, I really don't like the feel of black's position with this knight coming to d6. It looks terrible for black. So meanwhile, do get your predictions in for the move number at which the game will end in the Blitz portion. Now, this is going to be a massive task for Vidit. He's down to almost less than a minute. He goes for f5, knight d6 check, king to f8 probably. But this doesn't look good, guys. This looks terrible. It's a step. It's not a willing. It's not something he's doing willingly. He's doing because he's forced to do this. Queen to b4. Threat is knight into c8 and rook d7. Vidit under intense pressure. He's really struggling here. Knight into c8 and rook into d7. Nasty threat there. You want to move your knight to f6 or knight to e5, or even the knight to b8. But then there are tactics with knight into f5 and rook d8 check. For example, let's say black goes knight f6. Then white just crushes him with knight into f5, attacking the queen. Oh wait, you can take e into f5, rook d8 check, knight e8. So you gotta go for this. He goes knight to e5. He goes knight to e5 and he falls into knight into f5. Oh my god. He he falls into this exactly. He had to go with the knight to f6, protect the rook d8 check with knight e8. He fails to do this, and now he's completely lost. It's completely lost. It's mate in 7. You can see his reaction here. Not quite able to unleash his potential in this game, and that's the end for Vidit in this rapid championship, guys. That was a sad and unfortunate end, and Vidit resigns and he goes out in the quarterfinals. So Jeffrey Chong getting his revenge for the Sochi loss, and of course Vidit will get his chance back next Rapid Championship, or even the Chess.com World Championship, the FIDE World Championship later the cycle. But that was that, and that was Vidit's journey in this championship. It kind of unraveled around this point. Short castle a6. Till this point, he was okay. I'm not sure if queen c5 was such a great move. I think he should have just probably castled here. This was the move I would have been tempted to play. And it's still not the most pleasant positions out there for black, but it's also not such a bad position either. So I guess this is what he was supposed to do out there, but things started going wrong for him at this point. Queen to c5, and this bishop g7. We already pointed out it weakens the d6 pawn. Don't go for it. And white got exactly that. He got this knight to d6, but with limited time, he was not able to quite find a way out. And knight d6 check, king f8, queen to b4. This was the most difficult point. He had to go knight f6. White was threatening knight into c8 and rook d7, and also simultaneously threatening knight into f5 and rook d8 check. So knight f6 had to be done, and knight into f5, queen into b4, rook d8 check. Now there was knight e8. This was the key point, and c into b4, e into f5, and black would defend here. But he went knight e5, defending against this knight into c8, rook d7. One of the threats, he missed the other threat with knight into f5 now. So this game ended in 20 moves, and I don't think anyone predicted that before the game. But yeah, do watch out for the chat for the diamond membership giveaways, and the chess.com India official handle is the authority on that. So that was it, guys. That is VD's that is VD's rapid chess championship for this week. The next match is between Alexei Sarana against Dugo Daniel. So, chat, do you guys want to go on? Do you want to have a look at the quarterfinals, or are we all too disappointed? And shall we wrap up? I guess we'll wrap up for this week. We although if you do want the stream to continue, you can always catch me on my channel, where I'll be doing an AMA in just about 10 minutes at around 11:10. So that's that's this week's Rapid Chess Championship. Vidit had an awesome performance. He came all the way through the quarterfinals. Didn't lose a single game until that point, but he ran into Jeffrey Chong and just couldn't get his flow going today in the knockouts. He didn't get a great position with the white pieces, and in the black pieces, he was under pressure from the beginning, and slowly and steadily, he ended up losing the game. So that was Vidit's Rapid Chess Championship this week, but he'll be back again next week. And as for the next broadcast, do tune into my stream AMA pretty shortly, where I'll let you know the schedule for the week. And do like the stream and subscribe to the channel meanwhile for more updates from chess.com India. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye bye, and love you all.